David, we're in Scranton, Pennsylvania, the Rust in Peace 20th anniversary tour.
Right.
And you're back in Megadeth.
I know.
Let's go over that. How did that happen?
You know, it's funny because last time we chatted was back in the end of January at BB King's when I was doing the Hail show, and at that time there was no indication that we would be sitting here having this conversation, which is what's made this whole thing a lot sweeter. It's really cool. It's interesting though that same week I did see the press release about Megadeth coming on doing the 20th anniversary of Rust in Peace, and my heart sank. I was like, oh man, that should be something that I should be there for, and not just for my own personal selfish reasons, but just kind of going, I'm thinking, those are some hard bass parts to learn. Number one. I mean, look, Dave and I spent 20 years standing, sleeping, playing, whatever else we were doing, 5 feet from each other. That's a long time for a couple guys to be hanging together, you know. And we basically grew up together. I mean, I was 18 when I met him; he was 21, and you know, I had just moved to LA. I mean, Dave became like a big brother to me in a lot of ways, as well as a musical partner, you know, I think I was probably kind of like his little brother to some degree, you know. But we hung together, and we were friends, and you know, friends and business, and you know, just growing up together, music. I mean, these are some very these are intimate things about people. Even when you sit and you play music together, you're really it's kind of like it's kind of like, you know, pulling your pants down. You know what I mean? It's like, I want to show me what you got. You know, I don't know what else analogy you used it, but it's, you know, you're exposing yourself. You're really exposed. So Dave and I spent a lot of time in some situations where we really exposed who we were as people. You make yourself vulnerable. I mean, that's what makes great music is that vulnerability, and even to lay that out before the fans. You know, so our lives became very public. I mean, our behind the music special, of course, is kind of the PG-13 version of it.
Yeah,
there's a lot of more nasty stuff laying on the cutting room floor. I guess
that's what I wanted.
Yeah, I never made it. But you know, so I think for Dave and I mean, we're the kind of guys who like we can pretty much finish each other's sentences. You know what I mean? So I think probably at some point, you know, there was a lot of stuff that, you know, just kind of needed to be aired out. And it was sort of like we had our disagreements, and then we hugged and made up, and you know, here we are.
Let's talk about Rust in Peace a bit. Now, there's some heavy bass parts on there. Dawn Patrol, of course.
Right.
You hear, you know, I feel with Megadeth, as opposed to a lot of other thrash bands, such as Slayer, Metallica, where the bass kind of gets lost in the mix.
Right.
Especially in the Rust in Peace album, it's really distinctive in there.
Yeah.
Was that organic, or did you say, I want to write a song around the bass line, like Peace Sells?
You know, a little bit of both. I mean, Dawn Patrol, I created the bass part. Funny, Jimmy Bain, who I met a couple years earlier playing when we did the So Far So Good Sweat tour with Dio. Jimmy Bain is the bass player. I love Jimmy's playing. He's just got a great tone, good feel. He plays the pick. He loaned me an 8-string bass of his in the end, and I had it in my apartment. I was playing it, and one day I wrote Dawn Patrol, and so I had it sitting there. And this was kind of right as we were transitioning into the finishing up writing the Rust in Peace record. So I recorded it in the studio. Me and Nick recorded it and played it for Dave. And he was like, "Oh, that's cool." So he put some vocals on it, and that became a cool tune. And it's a cool transition song, especially late in the album, right as you turn the corner and head right into the final track of the record. You know, Dave as a songwriter has always been, you know, it's interesting how he writes. He will write something, and it's never anything personal. You know, he won't favor an instrument because of the person playing. He'll go, you know, this needs this cool drum intro, like say Polaris or something. You know what I mean? So he'll write this drum intro, or he'll have this guitar part, and he'll go, man, you know, play this on the bass. If you play this on the bass, it'd be a good part to have here, and then we can transition. So he really when he's in the moment composing, thinks about things as a composer, as opposed to just a guy playing his guitar. And I think that's what separates the Megadeth music, is that it is really orchestrated as a composition, not just, dude, let's rock and, play some riffs, So, and I think that's what you're noticing when you hear the Rust in Peace record, that it has all these developments of these songs where there's these, obviously, orchestrated guitar parts, there's bass feature parts, there's these intense drum intros, and, everything is like a riff.
Tuesday night in Baltimore,
Yeah.
there's a problem with the PA system?
Bizarre. I'd say what I'm about to tell you has never happened in my almost 30-some years of playing the bass in bands. I've been in bands since I was like 12, And what happened was, it started to happen apparently, as I understand, during Testaments. Exodus played, the Testament played, and the mixing console, which is kind of the brains and the computer center of a sound system, started having some difficulties. And we were, the intro tape was rolling. Sean was probably 5 seconds from standing up and appearing on stage, which would then become the intro to the band playing. And we pulled the plug and we aborted the show because there were problems with the system. We knew it wasn't going to work, so we aborted it. So, oh, shoot, we got to go back. And so we basically brought in another piece of the sound system, got it up and running, went out on stage, played the first 3 songs that we played before we started the Rust in Peace portion of the set. And a drunken or overzealous fan dumped a beer, a cocktail, spilled it onto the new mixing console, and basically blew the system out. So it was done. I think we finished the last song probably without needing the PA system on. So it was just kind of one issue after another, And so finally we just went, you know what, we got to just stop. Everybody go home. We'll figure out what we're going to do. And by, I don't know, by about 1 o'clock in the morning, we found a solution, which was we were going to be staying in Baltimore. We had a day off before the next show in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and the venue happened to be available in Baltimore. So it all kind of lined up. So basically what we did is we stayed behind the extra day, and fortunately our crew was gracious enough to, work an extra day of the week essentially, and set everything back up, and we basically did an evening with Megadeth.
When David Ellefson leaves Hale to rejoin Megadeth, what pops into my head is, hey, what's Jason Newsted up to?
It's funny, he's a name I thought of actually. That's the thing. There's a whole bunch of great, fantastic metal bass players out there from different genres too. I think that's the other thing too. I guess it's always the metal genre, but different maybe age groups, different periods of metal that could come in and play, who I think would be perfectly capable of it. And I happen to have a lot of friends who are bass players in the business, so I offered up what I thought was kind of a nice roster of guys that I would be very proud to hand the baton to them and say, man, rock it up, you would do a fantastic job at it. So I think I'm going to make an announcement shortly on who my successor is. So
you've picked someone.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Great, so it's a done deal, it just has to be announced?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.